Hey friends, I hope you all are doing well. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about a topic, and the topic is adaptability and what this means as a witch, especially during these times. And I think a lot of us are having to adapt and alter and change, some of our daily routines, and maybe even our practice a little bit per what is going on, right? These times are strange. And there's a lot of restrictions. And so I wanted to talk about today being a public witch, working for one of the oldest metaphysical businesses in the central Indianapolis area, kind of what we're going through as a small business. And of course, we cater to the local Indianapolis community as well as online. We have everything from stones, crystals, oils, candles, statuary, divination tools. I mean, you name it, right? We also do readings, and we have a wonderful classroom where we have awesome teachers and classes. And it's such a sacred, wonderful space. And before coronavirus, before the quarantine, it was always so cool to come into work and see the hustle and bustle of the store and smell all the scents of the metaphysical goodies and see different people shopping and finding what connects to them or new people coming into classes. But things are changing with the quarantine, and things are changing with coronavirus. And as a business and as witches, we are having to adapt and flow and change with that. So I want to talk to you about kind of what that means. So the classes, I do a lot of classes in our classroom, and unfortunately it sucks, but we are not able to have an in-person, real life, real-time classroom experience right now, which is hard. I miss having that classroom full of people and having that real life, real time discussion. And I know a lot of the students really miss that too. And one of the ways I have had to adapt is really going virtual and really going online. And this is something that I have expressed interest in the past. And I have tried to kind of work with store ownership about how can we make this information more accessible, right? Because we have online clients, we have people from out of state who would, I know, love to take some of these courses, but it's just not accessible for them. And so doing stuff online has always been an interest of mine, especially because you can target a much wider audience. But I feel like in a way you do lose that personability or that intimacy of our witchcraft classroom. You miss that a little bit. So how can we keep it as authentic as in person, but also transfer that over into a digital platform? So I've been working with the students currently. We've been keeping the regular class schedule going that we already had before the quarantine, only now we are just doing things online. And I've been doing a lot of things through Google Hangout, and that's been a learning process. Not just for me, but of course for the students, right? Having to adapt to this new way of learning. And I'm able to send them the class documents, and I'm able to send them the lectures, and then we have a live video, and we essentially do exactly what we would do in the classroom, just slightly different because it's online. So that's been an interesting witchy adaptation as of late. As of the merchandise, we don't have right now people coming in to the small business and purchasing stuff, which has really been weird, right? We've been doing much more online orders, shipping stuff, having people come pick stuff up from the store, like curbside pickups. And that's been strange, but that's kind of just where we're at. And I think a lot of us are in this weird space with it where we're just kind of doing the best that we can. We've been making masks and selling masks as well with like the medical grade, filters in them. So it's a strange space right now. And it's scary being a small business in these times as well, because there's not really a lot of support from our local state going on, and we're deemed as a non-essential business. And that gets into like a weird gray area too, because if you think about spirituality, religion, religious practices, it's, I'm saying, like, it is essential. It is essential. What might not be essential to one person is essential to another person. And a lot of our surrounding churches are allowed to be open. So it just kind of makes it weird, right? It's like, why is this considered essential and this is not considered essential? I don't know. You know, and then of course we've been busy making little tonics and herbal remedies. And so it's just a strange time right now. It's strange. And like I said, we're just kind of like doing the best that we can with it. But I think adaptation is so important, especially right now, because so many of us, even if you don't own a small business, so many of us are having to adapt to these new circumstances. And living in this life as a witch, it is not the first time in history where witches, you know, have had to adapt to these new situations and these new surroundings. There's been multiple pandemics, and what has been the witch's role during these pandemics? I think some of that is open to interpretation, right? But what is my opinion? What is my belief of my witchy role during this pandemic? I feel like, you know, being a face of a business, being a leader of a coven, being a focal point, it is my responsibility to take care of the community. And it's not my responsibility alone. There's a lot of us in the local Indianapolis witchy community who I think are really stepping up and creating virtual space, you know, because there's also this whole ritualistic aspect, you know, what do we do right now? How do we circle right now? For those of us who are involved in group magic or group work, like covens or kindreds or groves or whatever, how are we adapting? And how are we going to serve the community through this in a meaningful way? And that's been something that I have had to really kind of pick apart and analyze. I think as a witch, we already kind of are on the fringes of maybe more modern or traditional society. And so we kind of have this community, at least here in Indianapolis, we have this relatively large witchy community, pagan community. And at the same time, it's so close. And a lot of people know each other, right? And whether they be solitary practitioners, whether they be group practitioners, and like I said, part of a kindred or a grove or a coven, we all have a role in this community. And I think it's important for a lot of our community leaders to be holding this space and creating a space to where people can adapt and persevere through these times. And also spreading that knowledge and that information is so important. And that goes back into, I think, doing stuff online as well. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I just wanted to make this little video about adaptability, and how we are all just trying to adapt right now. And we are all just trying to survive right now. And holding space for our local witches and looking out for our community. Not just protecting ourselves and our loved ones, but our community as well. And I think this year is going to be such a powerful year for growth. You know, 2020, it's the year of four. It's the year of balance, four corners, four legs of a table. This is supposed to be a year of stability. And with coronavirus, it's kind of shaking this foundation a little bit. And it's kind of making everything a little bit chaotic and having to really reanalyze where our foundations are. Let me roll up this window a little. Having to really reanalyze where our foundations are and what foundation really means and how we can keep this foundation and how we can keep this stability. And I think that the coronavirus and all of the restrictions thereof are really testing a lot of people's ability to maintain. And it's really kind of taking the wool off of people's eyes, and people are really seeing things as they really are, which that can be scary too. So I think our role as witches in the Indianapolis area, right? And I'm only speaking for myself here, but I think it's so important to make sure that we are fostering space and that we are holding space for our community and get through these strange times. And I think that, you know, this is also going to offer so much learning and so much insight by persevering through this as well, because this is something that we have not seen before in our lifetime, right? And this is also something that we are not going to forget. 5, 10, 20 years down the road, we are going to still be talking about this because this has affected so many people on different levels, right? So I'm rambling again. So I guess I'll stop there. But that's just kind of my rambling thoughts of the coronavirus and what it means for small businesses, and how I think we as witches are just really having to face these obstacles and adapt through them. So I hope all of you stay well, and I will talk to you later.